Hello everyone, Christian here, and welcome to today's lesson, which is called Winning the Battle with Cash. Now, unfortunately, me and Rasmus aren't together right now, so I'm going to have to present this lesson to you guys by myself, but that's all right. So let's jump into what we'll be covering in this lesson. We're going to start by answering the question, what is the battle with cash? It's a bit of a funny name for a lesson, but you'll soon know exactly what I'm talking about. Next, we're going to talk about the money mindset, then breaking Parkinson's law. Then we'll be going into the foundations of money management. We'll be answering the question, would you rather make $100 or not lose $100? And then we'll be ending by talking about how to publish on different budgets and what those different publishing styles look like. So let's jump into things by answering the question, what is the battle with cash? So unless you come from riches, cash flow is a true battle every new entrepreneur will encounter and most likely struggle with. Anyone who's been in entrepreneurship before knows exactly what I'm talking about here. The battle with cash is the battle of needing money to pay your bills, support your family, stay afloat, and also have the money to invest into your business so that you can actually grow it at more than a snail's pace. And if this is your first time getting into publishing or entrepreneurship, if you feel this already, oh my God, okay, I need to pay the bills, but now I have this huge other expense, which goes into building my future. If you feel that stress already and that situation creeping up on you, understand that that's okay and it's completely normal and it's expected. It's really, really, really important that you understand this right now. So this lesson is going to be about how to win that battle with cash flow and not wave the white flag and quit oftentimes before you even get started. And the reason why we're creating this lesson is because we hear it all the time, having worked with over 1,000 students now. One of the number one objections to taking action, you have to understand that first, when our first job is to get you into the program. That's the easy part. Our second job is to get you to take action on the material and actually get started and building your publishing business. It's a big hurdle for a lot of people, and that's okay. Like, it's our responsibility to help you with it. So what I'm saying is the reason why we have this lesson is because we hear it all the time. People say, hey guys, I can't get started because I don't have a lot of money. And people use that as an excuse to, oh, I don't have money. There's nothing I can do. Well, publishing isn't for me. And it is an excuse that people make to remove the responsibility and blame from themselves and put it on something else that isn't their fault. So it's basically the easy way out. Like, oh, I'm not taking action, not because I'm a quitter, not because I'm afraid of failing, not because I'm afraid of investing, not because of these things that are painful to admit, but because I don't have the money. So, well, that's just poor me. Let me go back to struggling and complaining about how I don't have money. So if you find yourself in that situation, which I know is a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with that, that's what I'm saying here. That's what this lesson is about, how to overcome that and navigate it in the beginning and get the ball rolling, okay? So next is that one of the great things about a publishing business is that it has a budget for everyone. And I truly don't think this can be said about many or any other business models that exist. And I'm going to show you in the end, I'm going to show you exactly everything, how you can get started if you have literally no money right now. So as it says here, even if you have no money to your name, I'm going to show you how to stretch your dollar and publish books and audiobooks for almost no money. You can do it for technically, literally no money, but that's not the goal here. That's just silly. Okay, I'm going to show you almost no money because if you're in that situation, hey, are you at a disadvantage? Absolutely. But we got to work with what you got. You're kind of starting on an uneven playing field because, I mean, you've probably made irresponsible financial decisions your whole life, which is why you don't get the advantage of starting with maybe $10,000 to invest into your publishing business. But we're going to talk about that as well, how to change that now and make responsible financial decisions going forward. So next thing I want to say, this is huge, is that the amount of money you have right now to invest into your publishing business is not a static state. This is something that a lot of people believe, whether it's like intentionally or unintentionally, they think that, let's say I only have $100 right now and I need it to survive, so I can't put it into books or ghostwriters or anything like that. So, well, I'm screwed. I can't invest in my publishing business. But the money you have is not a static state. It's not an identity. It is a dynamic state. It's something that you can change and improve over time, so that maybe 3 months from now, now you have $1,000 that you can invest into your publishing business. But really the big takeaway on that is, when there's a will, there's a way. If you really want this, you will find a way. However, when there's no will, there is no way. If it isn't a burning desire inside of you where you just feel like, I have to succeed, I have to make money, I have to supplement my income, then there's no way you're going to find a way, because you're always going to find these little excuses, these little easy ways out where you can quit and not take action. Some of this might be hard to hear, but I just have to be completely frank with you. The things that we've learned from coaching over 1,000 people in publishing. And the last thing, will things be easy if you're in this position? No, things will absolutely not be easy. But if you're looking for something easy, you should go back to a job. It's literally the easiest way, bar none, to make money in the world. All 7 billion people in the world can make money with a job. Anyone can do it. Because it's the easiest way. But it's not fulfilling, nor is it a pleasant way to make money for most people. So let's just continue here and move on to the money mindset. Now, we're not in week 1 anymore, but we're going to forever talk about mindset. And what this money mindset is, it's the I can't mindset versus how can I mindset. Let me explain what I mean. So someone with an I can't mindset, they will say, I can't build my publishing business because I don't have the money. And again, I'm using this example because we've heard it so many times. We hear it on a daily basis. On an absolute daily basis, we follow with people like, hey, how are things going? Are we making progress? Have you gotten started? And it's like, yeah, I've watched a few lessons, but then I've realized you have to invest in your business. Crazy concept, right? So I haven't done any more because I can't. I'm helpless here. And another example is someone who would say, I can't lose weight because of my metabolism. That's one of the main ones I've heard all the time when it comes to losing weight. Like, there's nothing I can do. It's the way I was born. I was born with thick bones, a slow metabolism, so I can't lose weight. And then another one is, I can't quit smoking because of insert excuse or insert scapegoat. Either my mom's a smoker and I live at home, so I can't quit smoking because she won't quit smoking with me, so I just can't. Or I'm stressed at work, so I can't quit smoking. There's an infinite number of reasons why. And the outcome for people with this I can't mindset is always no action whatsoever. They don't even try. If you say you can't, you don't even try. What's the point? You can't. And the problem will persist indefinitely. However, if you have a how can I mindset, instead the things you'll be saying is, how can I build my publishing business even though I don't have money? Or how can I lose weight even though I know I have a slow metabolism? Like, it's not discrediting what you're saying. Like, do people have slower metabolisms and have more trouble losing weight? Absolutely, 100%. But there's nothing you can do about it. If you just cry and mope about it, well, you're going to be overweight your whole life. And instead you could say, how can I quit smoking even though my whole family is a smoker and I live with my family and it's really tough? If you ask the question, how can I, you will find a solution, because there's always solutions. Again, it's not because it's an invalid thing to say, I can't quit smoking because my whole family smokes, but it doesn't do you any justice to say that and live that way. So if you ask, how can I, if you figure it out, the outcome is always going to be, you will find solutions to your problem. And you will also ask other people, how can I solve this problem? And they will give you even more solutions. You'll take action on those. You'll solve your problems and potentially change your life forever. Nothing great can ever be achieved with an I can't mindset, because it just ends there. So you need to develop a how can I mindset. And this comes back to the, when there's a will, there's a way. If you want it enough, you will find a way, over that hurdle. And this is actually something that Rasmus likes to say. He likes to call this the killer instinct. The killer instinct is, if someone has it, they'll find a way. Whatever it is, there's a problem, okay, find a way around it, because there's gonna come problems all the day, but you find a way around it. How can I get around it? Well, I'm gonna find a way, and I'm gonna go that way. It's never, well, I can't do this. If you say I can't, which is way too many people, it really breaks my heart when I see it. That's just not going to fly. You have to figure out how. But additionally, what this lesson is about is answering that question. How can you create a publishing business without much money? How can you get more money? How can you manage it? How can you continue forward and not use it as, well, the end of your publishing career, which unfortunately happens to a lot of people. Next thing I want to bring up here is actually a really unbelievable story from a documentary that we watched on Netflix last month. It's called The Dawn Wall. It's about a professional rock climber. His name is Tommy Caldwell. And what he did was he ended up climbing a wall that's never been climbed and was always considered to be impossible to climb. But when he was about, 18, 20 years old, he was like cutting wood at home, and his finger slipped, and he cut his finger off. He cut his finger off, like his pointer finger, like the main finger that you use to rock climbing. And he lost it. They tried to sew it on. They couldn't. So they said, forget it. Just get it off. And, well, I guess I'll live with 4.5 fingers. And the doctor told him, like, listen, Tommy, I'm sorry, but you can't rock climb anymore. This is done. Like, we can't attach the finger. You're done. You can't rock climb. And, of course, what he could have done is said, you're right, I can't. I mean, it would have completely... he would have gone depressed and probably had suicidal thoughts. That's how much this guy loves rock climbing. But instead, because he has so much will and wants it so bad, he figured out a way. He's like, how can I continue to be a really good rock climber with a nub of a pointer finger? And what he did was he did like training exercises. He strengthened it. He just practiced climbing with only 4 fingers. And even after losing his finger, he was still one of the best rock climbers in the world. So it didn't change anything because he had the how can I mindset. He figured out a training so that he could still be good at rock climbing. And it was just the perfect example, and I highly recommend that you watch this documentary because it's absolutely unbelievable. It's incredible. I loved it. I would recommend it. It's called The Dawn Wall on Netflix. Now let's continue. Let me take a sip of water here. This next section is called Breaking Parkinson's Law. So, what is Parkinson's Law? What Parkinson's Law says, the original phrase is, work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. And it was said by some author, C.N. Parkinson. And what this means is, the graph will somewhat explain it. It really says that humans will use up all the amount of time that they have to complete a certain task. So imagine when you were in college, you had a due date here, where in the beginning you'll work on a little bit, but then you realize, oh, I have 3 weeks to write this essay. And then you just coast, you don't do anything. And then the last day, you put it into 5th gear and you stay up all night. Maybe you take some stuff you shouldn't, and then you finish the essay on time for the due date. And no matter when the due date is, the cycle repeats. Because if you have a year to complete something, what this theory and law says is that you will use up the full year to complete the task. You won't complete a year's task in 1 week, because that's just not human nature. Now, a derivative of this law, if we apply it to money, is that your lifestyle expenses increase so as to use up the income available. Now, if I could summarize this law in my own words, it's basically that it is human nature to use all the resources available to you. It's just human nature. If you have a resource, you're going to use it. You're not just going to let it sit there and not do anything. So that's human nature. So Parkinson's Law is one of the most important laws of money and wealth accumulation, and it explains why most people retire poor. Many people are earning today several times what they were earning at their first jobs. However, somehow they splurge all their money. So financially, they end up no better off. And it's no wonder 70%, this is real, guys. I didn't believe it the first time I read it, but it's no wonder that 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, because it's natural human behavior to, and I've seen it myself. I've had friends who have been given insurance money and then they just blow it the next day at the mall. That if you have financial resources, you're going to use it, because if it's just sitting there, it's not being used for anything, that's a waste, right? No, it's obviously not a waste, but that's what people think if they're not conscious about it. So making more money doesn't solve your cash flow problems. And the perfect example that I want to bring up here is Cristiano Ronaldo. He is a good example of that. Parkinson's law is in effect until you break it. So Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best soccer or football players in the world, worth about $500 million. But as you can see from the pictures, this is not even half the cars he has. He has over 20 like super luxury cars worth hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. He even has 3 Bugattis. Like, if you don't know anything about cars, you don't know what I'm talking about. But that's a car worth multi-millions, and he has 3 of them. And the reason why he does this, like, I'm sure there's underlying reasons, other reasons, like maybe there's some ego issues and whatnot, but it's because he can. It's because he has the available resources. That's why he buys these cars. It's not because they make you any more happier or they do anything really. It's only because I have the resources. So it's a perfect example of no matter how much money you have, if you don't break Parkinson's law, you will fall victim to this and just keep on spending and spending and spending because you can. Now, how do you break Parkinson's law? This is the important part of this. Is to do that, you must make your unconscious spending behaviors conscious and resist the urge to spend money just because you have it. So what do I mean by this? It's if you continue to just live life on autopilot, make more money because you think you're going to be more financially free that way. If you don't deliberately resist the urge, okay, don't spend this money. Because if you don't think about it and consciously resist it and know, okay, I'm falling a victim to this if I don't stop the urge and fight it, then you will fall victim to this and not achieve any sort of financial freedom, because your living expenses will increase with your income. So what you need to do is save and invest your money. Because if you're not saving and investing, you're spending it. Those truly are the only 2 options here. You can save and invest, or you can spend it. And spending money goes into a dead-end black hole and it never comes back and never provides any financial return whatsoever. While saving, simply meaning just putting in a bank account, or investing, it could be into retirement funds or into your business. Putting money into your business is not spending it. That's investing it, because it's money that if you continue and execute properly will come back 2-fold, 5-fold, 10-fold down the line. But the powerful thing here is that when saving and investing your money becomes your default, so basically when you're wired to be an anti-Parkinson's law person, where when you get money, oh, let me put it away, let me save it. That's when you become, as cheesy as it sounds, wired for wealth. So that's your default. You would have to act against yourself to not become wealthy, because you're born to use up all your resources, but you can train yourself to not use up your financial resources. And that's when you can become wired for wealth like that. So next thing I want to cover here is talk about the foundations of money management, and which reminds me that I've experienced this many times before, that someone older than myself, I'm 24 years old, older than us, cannot take financial advice from 24-year-olds. So if you feel that way, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or older, and you can't wholeheartedly take what we're saying here seriously because, oh, what could they know? They're young. They don't have the experience that I do. You're going to need to swallow that feeling for this lesson, because the truth is that me and Rasmus, even at our age, have probably worked with more inflows and outflows of cash than most people ever will, just to be completely honest with you. So this is something we have been training ourselves in since we were a lot younger. So don't think that just because we're young that we can't spread good advice on the topic of money management. But anyway, let me continue. So the solution to I can't build my publishing business or any business for that matter because I don't have a lot of money, which is why we created this lesson to fight that objection and smash it to pieces. The solution to this is having more money. Now, for one, is breaking Parkinson's law and not spending it. But there really are two methods that we can create more money for ourselves right now that we can go on to use into our publishing business. And number one is increase the inflow of money into our bank accounts. We're not talking publishing here. That comes down the line. We're talking in the now. Increase inflow of money, aka make more money. And number two, decrease the outflow of money, spend less. There is no third dimension where money can suddenly appear in your bank account other than these two. You can increase the inflow or decrease the outflow. And I'm sure we're going to tell you things that you don't want to hear, like, yeah, spend less, don't buy the things that you want. And it's definitely not what you want to hear. But it's the truth, and it's the way, and it's what works. So that's what we'll be talking about. But those are the only two ways to increase the amount of cash you have right now. Now, what I want to do here is use this infographic to explain really how simple this is. That if you can make the same, spend the same, you have baseline amount of money of $10. If you can make more, spend the same, you now have more money of $15. However, if you don't make any more money, all you do is spend less, you have the same amount of money if you had made more and spent the same. And then if you make more, spend more, there's no change given that the differences in both are the same. You can make less, spend less, the same. And then the worst of them all, you make less, you spend more, you're gonna have no money. But then of course, the magic formula here is make more money and spend less money. And that's gonna be the goal and what we're gonna talk about right here. So first, how do you make more money? The only thing to say on this about how to make more money right now is that you have to work more at your job or supplement your current job with another job. Or if you don't have a job at all, get a job. Or, I don't know, ask the neighbors if you can go pick up their groceries. Ooh, that's a good business idea. Go to your neighbors, say, here, for $20, I'll go buy all your groceries and come back. Or you could cut grass. You could do anything. You need a job. There's no way around it. So all I'm saying is that you have no choice but to work more at a job if you want to increase your income right now. Okay, so there's not more to say on this, so let's move on. Next, the more interesting topic is how to spend less. Now, I'm sure you've heard this quote before, a dollar saved is a dollar earned, which is like a nice quote, and yeah, there's definitely some good advice in there, but it's actually not true. Not true at all. $1 saved is not $1 earned, because after Uncle Sam takes his cut, the $1 that you earned is not worth $1 anymore. So in fact, statistically, analytically, mathematically, it's not like, oh, we twisted it some funny way, but $1 saved is actually about $1.65 earned after subtracting all your taxes. So saving $1 is way better than making $1. And in fact, if you consider all of the other resources involved in earning $1 more or $100 more, it's your time, your energy. If you drive to work, you have to pay for gas. If you do public transit, you have to pay for that. So when you take that into consideration as well, $1 saved is actually about $2 earned. So clearly, spending less is a lot more powerful than making more. So make this a priority. Like, you can only work so many hours. There's only so far you can take your earning capabilities, like in the now, right now. So make spending less a massive priority because it has a massive impact on the amount of money that you have. So next here is a quote with a lot of truth in it. It is, what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. So a foundation of money management is tracking your expenses. So I want to give you a challenge to track everything you spend for the next 3 months using the AIA funds created tracking sheet. So I'm gonna open that up in a second here. But what I do need to say is don't use any paper cash because you can't track it. And well, unless you write down on your hand as you give someone money, you can do that as well. But I mean, I haven't used paper cash in probably like a year. You can do it all with your cards. So it works best if you do it that way. But the way the tracking sheet works is we look at your essential versus non-essential spending, aka your needs versus your wants. Now, I don't want to provide any sort of special financial guidelines to follow. I'm not a financial advisor. That's not really my thing, but just focus on getting your spending as low as you can by cutting off non-essential spending just temporarily, not forever, just for a little bit, and lowering your essential spending where you can. So let me open up the AIA funds created tracking sheet. It is right here. It's formatted similar to the AIA profit loss spreadsheet, and this is what it looks like. So there's some dummy numbers in here that you can see. So how you use it is, well, the purpose of it is to create publishing money. The purpose of it is to track and actively create publishing money to invest into your business as the goal. So start by putting a target number. Let's say $1,000 is an amazing target for saving in a month. And then what you're going to start by doing is putting in your income from your jobs, job 1, job 2, gifts, if you got any gifts, publishing. Now, you won't be making any publishing money right now, but once you do, put it in right there. And then any other kinds of income, you could just put in your income there. And then next, what you're going to want to do is under personal expenses, put in your needs. That's things like rent, groceries, auto insurance, car payments, gas, internet, utility bills, going to the doctor, things like that. These are things that you cannot live without. It doesn't mean you can't lower your spending on it, but you need it, okay? So, and then the big one here is taxes. Now, your income here is going to be gross income, which is going to be before taxes come into play, and you're going to want to track taxes as an essential expense. Next is the wants or non-essential column, and that's going to be everything that you purchase in a month that you don't need, that are just things that you want. And you could be super, super broke and spend a lot of money on non-essential things. And that's honestly probably why you're in a sticky financial situation, is because you're spending money on things that you don't need. So this spreadsheet will help you track that, become aware of it, become conscious of it, and say no to it in the future. So saying no to things is what will allow you to save up money. But yeah, this goes from January to December, and I challenge you to fill this out for the next 3 months. You'll learn a lot. You'll see where you can cut your spending, and it'll make a big difference. So just look at your bank statement. You can put it in every day, every week, at the end of the month, and then analyze and see how many publishing funds you created for yourself. So now let's jump back into here. So when things get really fun and you can make a lot of financial progress in your life is when you learn to enjoy sacrifice. This is definitely a stage that I'm in right now, and I enjoy the sacrifice. I almost enjoy the pain of saying no to things, because saying no to things and that sacrifice previously in my life is what has created my current situation. So now I have a positive association with sacrifice equals awesome, epic, amazing life. And now that correlation is so strong where I enjoy sacrificing things. And that's when it becomes your default. And that's when things, you get really good at this. Now, last thing I really want to say here on the topic of money management is that by saving money, by just gaining that skill, making it a default, becoming addicted to the sacrifice almost, you can become wealthy. I put it in quotations because it depends how you define wealthy, but you can have a lot of money while making a very modest to, let's be honest, low salary. at $50,000 per year. You can become wealthy with a low salary. However, it requires nonstop sacrifice your whole life. And that's not very fun. And that's why we get into the world of being in control of our own income so that we don't just have to penny pinch our whole life to have some sort of financial freedom. But it's just to show you the power of it, that saving money in itself can get you rich, even if you don't make much. It's definitely something to be aware of. Now, last section of this lesson is where we're going to talk about publishing on different budgets. And the idea for this section in the lesson actually came from an AIA member in the Facebook group. His name is Peter, and he suggested, hey, can you outline like publishing styles and strategies given different budgets that you're getting started with? And I'm like, that's literally the most amazing idea ever. So that's what we've done. And I think it's going to be a big takeaway for you guys if you're just getting started. And this has been like populating your brain, like, oh, I don't have as much money as like they say I should. And I definitely do want to take responsibility for that. If you felt like we've said this is the only way to publish and you need at least $1,000 to publish a book, when that's not the case at all whatsoever. That's just in a perfect world. But we don't live in a perfect world, and a lot of people don't have those funds to get started with. And I don't want you thinking that you're at a disadvantage. Of course you are, but I don't want to think that you can't get started and this isn't for you, when the truth is one of the great things about publishing is how there's a budget for everyone. So as it says here, a publishing budget is not a one size fits all, but the bigger the budget, the bigger an advantage you have. Obviously, you're at a disadvantage if you're starting with no money, but you still have opportunity to get started and get the ball rolling, because it's just not an excuse. It's just not an excuse to not do anything. Now, the only way to publish or do any of the tasks in your publishing business is to either pay someone to do the task for you or do it yourself. And this is relatively obvious, but some people are in a place where like, hey, you guys said this is a business where you don't have to do that much work. Like, yeah, if you pay others to do it for you, you really just manage everything. But if you can't pay other people, they're not going to work for you for free. So then you have to do it yourself. And when we got started, when tons of people in AIA who have done really well so far got started, they were doing everything themselves. Hell, the first book that I published was one I wrote myself. Same with Rasmus. That's not an issue. That's just a starting point. Now, anyway, the 5 budgets that we will be covering is number 1, the broke budget of if you have $100 or less. And for anyone who thinks that broke is a derogatory term, you might be right, but me and Rasmus used to be broke as hell. So I feel like I'm allowed to use that word. We used to be broke. So please don't get offended by it. That's all I wanted to say. Next is a small budget of $1,000, medium budget, 3 to 5, high budget if you have $10,000 to invest, and then no budget is literally no budget. And me and Rasmus are lucky enough to be in that category right now, where when we publish books, budget is literally like what it costs is literally not a thing. We don't care. The focus is getting the best person to do the absolute best job possible. And it gives you such a ridiculous advantage over everyone else. It puts you in a hole in the beginning, but in the long term, you can dominate everyone because you have the best everything. So as I go through so what I'm going to do here is go through every investments or task in your publishing business, like cover, writing, formatting, description, ads, things like that, and tell you where you should use your money and where you shouldn't, depending on what your budget is. So figure out what budget you fall in here, whether it's broke, small, medium, high, or no budget, and then listen extra attention to when I talk about the approach you want to take with that budget. So let's jump into it. First is writing, and this is going to be the biggest expense in your publishing business, which also means that's where you can save the most money. So if you are completely broke, your only option is to write books yourself. And hold on, I know a lot of people are thinking, well, clearly that's not an option because I'm not an author, I'm not a writer. Listen, neither am I. I've written 10 to 15 books. These are not your traditional books. Week 3 lesson something is the lesson about how to write books yourself, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that you can actually write a number of books yourself. So please do not ever think that that's a freaking excuse, because that's all it is, an excuse. Next, if you have a small budget of about $1,000, what I would do if I were you is not publish 30,000 word books like we recommend. What I want to say is, in the publishing world, it's not 30,000 words or nothing. So I apologize if we gave off that impression, because I think that we did, that's the only option. No, it's simply the best option. But if you can't do that, obviously you can't do that, doesn't mean you should stop and not take action. So if you're on a small budget, publish 15,000 word books, which is going to be half the cost, and do it with the Urban Writers or Upwork. Now, when we first got started, we published 5,000 word books. They made some sales, but they got negative reviews really quickly, and that stopped because that's like a booklet. 10,000 still short. 15,000. There are some books that can have a long lifetime of success being just 15,000 words. The content just needs to be really good, which in the end is oftentimes in your hands. So do publish a 15,000 word book if it's your only option given your budget. Okay. Next is with a medium budget, we'll do the 30,000 word books like we recommend. High budget, same thing. And if you have no budget, still only 30,000 words. Longer is not better. 30,000 is the sweet spot, but I would use Upwork and find some super epic freelancer superstar. And this is what we're currently doing right now. We find all our writers from Upwork. So moving on to the next, which is your book cover. If you're completely broke, just design it yourself in Canva. It says on Canva. Design yourself on Canva. If you're completely broke, just design your book cover yourself on Canva. If you're thinking, oh, I don't have design skills, just another stupid excuse that is not true. We have a lesson on how to do all of these steps by yourself. We started doing all of them by ourselves, but then when you get to a point where your time is more valuable, where it's a better choice to have someone better than you do it. Okay, so we have a lesson on how to design yourself in Canva, and you'll be pleasantly surprised that you can create an awesome one even if you have no design skills. Next is if you have a small budget, we'll just do a nice $20 Fiverr cover. Same with a medium budget. If you have a high budget, I would use the Urban Writers cover design package, which costs, I believe, $69 right now. Or I would use 100covers.com, where their book covers cost $100, but they turn out significantly better than one that you'll do yourself, one that you'll get on Fiverr, anything like that. So if you have the money, invest more in your book cover because it's worth it. And if you have no budget whatsoever, use the platform 99 Designs, where a book cover will cost literally $300. But this is how it works, is that a bunch of cover designers will submit their best version they can. So you'll get like literally 99 designs of your book cover, and then you choose the one you like the most, and then whoever's you choose, they get the full $300. And this big cash incentive that cover designers get on 99 Designs means that people really try their best, and you get like 100 people's best version. You always find some unbelievable covers with 99 Designs. So that's what we use now for every cover. It's super expensive, but it's worth it in the long run. So next thing here is audiobook narration. Now, I want to say only narrate yourself if you have voice actor experience. Otherwise, if you're on a broke budget, do a royalty share where a narrator will literally narrate your audiobook for $0. However, in exchange, you split the royalties lifetime, which can prove to be really expensive. But hey, it's your only option. This is the last place you want to cut your investments with your publishing business. Try and avoid it at all costs. Next is, on a small budget, I'll just find a new ACX narrator at about $50 per finished hour. Medium budget, a good ACX narrator. High budget, a great ACX narrator that will cost about that amount. And then with no budget, find the best ACX narrator that you can find, which will cost you about $500 per finished hour. Next, we have book formatting. If you're completely broke, just do it yourself where it costs nothing. Don't worry, we show you how to do it yourself. Small budget, get someone on Fiverr to do it for $20 or just do it yourself. Medium budget, go on Fiverr for $20. If you're on a high budget, you can invest in some awesome formatting. You could buy Vellum and do it yourself, which is a one-time fee of $249. Or you can use Ed's Ultimate Book Formatting Service. He's an AIA member. I will leave the link to all of this stuff down below, of course, where it'll cost about $50 to $70 to get your book formatted. However, if you have no budget, you can use Formatted Books, which is who we use now, but it costs $200 per book. Super expensive to have a book formatted, but super worth it. What I want to show here is this is an example of a book formatted with formatted books. So this is the title page, go down, dedication page, table of contents. What I want to show you is how different it looks from any other books. Like imagine having a dog training book and you have freaking dog paw prints at the bottom of every page. You go in here, you have amazing graphics, like you are separating yourself from everyone else. And this is going to be a game changer. It is going to reflect itself in your book's reviews, and this makes you into an authority, and it makes a big difference. So when you get to the point where you can invest a lot of money into your books, you spend on things like that. And again, it's not just pointlessly. It comes back tenfold down the line. Next is your book description. If you are broke, write your description yourself. Same for a small and medium budget. If you have a high or no budget, I would recommend having someone else write your book description. So we use Best-Selling Book Descriptions, which is run by Rasmus's girlfriend, who is actually his fiance, soon to be wife. And they have by far the best book descriptions of anyone anywhere. And it's pretty affordable. But of course, if you have a budget, you write your own description. We show you how to do it. But if you have the money, you want someone else who could do it even better than you. Next, for proofreading and editing, if you're on a broke, small, or medium budget, do this stuff yourself. Or if you're on a high budget, use Eagle Eye Proofreading. We'll leave links to this stuff down below. And if you're on no budget, same thing, plus doing it yourself. So I believe that no matter the situation, you should always read your own book before you publish it. Always. Even if someone else says, oh, it's good, read it yourself so that you know what you're publishing. Next is software. And what I want to say on this is that we use softwares to save us time and make us money. The reason I say that is because there is a cynical group of people online who believe that like other people or us as well, we promote softwares just to get like 10% affiliate commissions on like $10 a month, we get 10%. So we get $1 a month. That's not why we tell you to use softwares. We tell you to use softwares because it will make you way more money and save you tons of time. So I wanted to clear the air on that. They're for a purpose. They're not for any other reason. And if you are on a broke budget doing everything yourself, the only softwares that you need that are kind of mandatory are ActiveCampaign at just $9 a month and BookFunnel at $10 a month. So if you're publishing on the broke publishing lifestyle, then you have operating costs of your publishing business at $19 per month. That's what you have to live up to be able to keep your business alive. It goes to show that you don't need a lot of cash flow to create a publishing business. Next, on a small budget, I would use the same, plus get a keyword research tool to save you a bunch of time. If you're on the medium budget, same, plus WooBox, which will help automate the review process for your audiobooks, and Publisher Rocket as well. High budget, same. On no budget, get all those, plus ClickFunnels, which is expensive at $97 per month. Now on to Amazon ads. Now, Amazon ads are by no means required to sell a lot of books. Does it help? Hell yeah, it helps a lot. But if you don't have the money, well, it's kind of not an option. So deal with it. So if you're on a broke budget, you don't run any ads until you have the money. Small budget, $100 to $200 per month. Medium budget, spend like $500 a month on ads. That will help a lot, especially in the beginning. On a high budget, you can spend $1,000 to $2,000 per month on Amazon ads. And if you have no budget, you literally want to spend as much money on ads as you can profitably spend. Anywhere from $10,000 per month to over $100,000 per month in ads. So that might sound crazy to a lot of people, but me and Rasmus have spent well into the six figures in ads in 1 month recurring. That's just a regular business expense. And you might think, holy shit, how can you afford that? Well, if we didn't spend the money on ads, we wouldn't be able to afford it. The only reason we're able to afford it is because we spend it and they make 3x money back. So then you can spend it on more. And you can, like spending $100,000 in a month on ads is not uncommon or weird at all. Because if you don't spend that money, you might make a tiny fraction of what you did make if you spent a lot. So don't be intimidated by the thought of spending $5,000 in a month on ads, because when you spend $5,000, you're making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 back. So it's barely even an expense. It's more of a really amazing investment. So last thing here is just a overview of the publishing style with every budget. So if you're completely broke, you're doing everything yourself, but your only expenses are active campaign at $9 a month and book funnel at $10 a month. It's great, and anyone could do. This is why saying that I don't have money so I can't get started is just complete nonsense. Now, if it's because you weren't informed and you didn't know it was possible like this, then that's completely okay. That's what this lesson is for. But next, on a small budget, what you want to do is start with 15,000 word books and do a lot of the work yourself other than the ghostwriting. On a medium budget, you want to outsource to professionals and do some of the work yourself. Also, your first go around, what I recommend for your first round of books is do everything yourself, except for ghostwriting and cover and narration. Okay, but all the small things of like descriptions, editing, formatting, things like that, do that yourself so you can have that skill, and you've done it yourself, so now you can have someone else do it. Next, on a high budget, you want to outsource everything, and if you're on with no budget, you want to pay whatever they need. You want to pay whoever the best person for the job is, pay them whatever they need to do that best job possible. And that's the advantage of having a lot of money to work with. Or in our situation where we literally hired someone to hire other people, we literally hired someone to find the best person for every task in the publishing business. And that's the ideal publishing situation. But last closing thought I want to bring here before the motivational quote we'll end with is that rich people spend their money on investments, while poor people shy away from investments, like putting it into books, so that they can spend their money on a black hole, which is basically anything that isn't investing or saving. Now, some things you do have to invest in, like a roof over your head and a car and stuff like that. But other than that, cut as much of it as you can out. Learn to enjoy the sacrifice. And this actually becomes fun. The sacrifice actually becomes fun. But let's end with the motivational quote, which is, "You will come to know that what appears today to be a sacrifice will prove instead to be the greatest investment that you will ever make." So I want to leave you on that. Ponder that for a second. Try to be mindful right now and understand that you're sitting in the middle of a journey right now. I know I'm getting woo-woo on you, but a lot of times people can lose sight of where they're at and think they're just at the bottom struggling, when the truth is you're just at the beginning of your journey. Okay, now I'm getting weird. Sorry about that, but enjoy that and see you in the next lesson.